In 1948, Ni Kwabena Boni, Osu Alatamanche, and the leader of the national boycott movement, organized a successful boycott of goods sold by immigrant merchants, Europeans and Syrians, 2 days earlier because of high prices. An agreement had been reached with the colonial administration to do something about the prices on 28 February 1948. That day, a reduction in the prices of consumables was to be effected. It was on that same day that a group of unarmed ex-servicemen decided to go on a peaceful march to present a petition on their deteriorating conditions to Sir Gerard Greasy, the governor, at his residence at the Christianborg Castle, Osu. These ex-servicemen had fought alongside the British during the Second World War, and they had been promised packages like employment, housing, money, etc. However, after the war, these promises were not honored by the British.
The reason why there were 48 routes, we were promised pension, increment in our pay, and so forth. But all was moonshine. They deceived us.
Meanwhile, their British counterparts were rewarded and promoted handsomely. On reaching the Osu Labadi crossroad, not far from the castle, they encountered a contingent of policemen on duty under the command of Captain Colin Emery, who ordered them to stop.
At the crossroad, we were held up because we were then marching in the columns. And then what we saw was a resistance from the British Superintendent of Police, Mr. Emery, who would not allow us to further our advance to the castle.
As the ex-servicemen were marching forward in defiance of the order, Captain Emery ordered his men to shoot. On the men's refusal, he took a gun and fired at the marchers.
The crowd in front were very close, perhaps 20, 25 yards, I don't know. I gave the order to fire, and nothing happened at all. We were obviously going to get overrun at any moment, and I retreated back onto the firing party and tore a rifle out of the hands of one of the men, and I myself fired at a man in front who was urging the crowd forward, and he was killed, and I think I fired a total of another 5 shots. And the crowd turned around and made off.
The result was the death of Sergeant Ajete, Corporal Atipo, Private Odati Lamte, and other 5 ex-servicemen were wounded. The news of the incident aroused violent anti-government protests, looting, and general anarchy in Accra. There was spontaneous reactions in other towns like Nsawam, Koforidua, Akuse, and Kumasi. After the riot, 29 people had lost their lives, whilst 237 others sustained injuries of varying degrees. Property damage was estimated at £2 million. The leaders of the UGCC was wrongly blamed for the disturbances, and its 6 members, Dr. J.B. Dankwa, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, Edward Ekufu-Addo, William Ofori Atta, Ako Ejei, and Obechebi Lamte were arrested and detained in various isolated areas in the Northern Territories. These people later became known as the Big Six. The effect of the riot and looting, however, went beyond these. They made the British government realize that the people of the Gold Coast were not prepared to continue peaceably under colonial rule. The UGCC demanded an official inquiry into the events of February. The Watson Commission was set up by the British under Aiken Watson. The commission, which reported in June 1948, said that a number of things were responsible for the rout. These were social, political, and economic conditions, like discontent of the former soldiers about re-employment and pensions, the domination of the economy by Europeans and Syrians, the high prices of imported goods, the cutting down of diseased cocoa trees, shortage of housing, and the sense of uselessness on the part of the educated elite who had been kept out of participation in the government of their own country. The commission recommended that a new constitution which would increase the number of Ghanaians in the Legislative Council should be introduced, and they, Ghanaians, should be given a greater role in the proceedings of the Executive Council under the proposed constitutional changes. The commission further also recommended that the development of education be speeded up. The British government accepted the recommendations about the reforms in the constitution. What other information about the 1948 riot can you share with us? Do not forget to share, like, and subscribe to this channel.